Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another installment of the Football Gods. I'm with my guys here. Kamza, what's up?
What's up, doggo? What's up?
Yeah, man. Good, you good.
All good in the hood, man.
Yeah.
What would
No, so we've just got a bit of a special episode. We won't be speaking strictly about the Premier League and any particular fixtures like we normally do. We just wanted to speak about just an ongoing thing. I think pretty much the whole of this season, even pre-World Cup, just the issue of financial, I guess, compliance or fair play, whatever you want to call it in football, just all financial affairs. I think it's becoming a very like pivotal element in football now, just as far as clubs spending responsibly and is it widening the gap? Is it a fair thing that teams should only spend as much as they make, or if you've got a rich owner, can the guy just ball out, blah, 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 blah. So we're just going to delve into all of that stuff. So, Kams, I just want to start with you. Maybe we can just speak just general, just like an overview
Yeah.
of your thoughts just about finances in football.
Okay, my thoughts. Subjectively, I am for clubs spending that kind of money, guys. I'm for clubs being banks. I'm for clubs investing into players, into stadiums, into other employees besides the ones that we see on the pitch. And yes, I do understand the flip side of it is that the smaller clubs that can compete with bigger budgets. However, I still believe that a super club, e.g., like a AC Milan, for example, with the legacy that they have, deserve to still be present even today. And that can only be done through investment. However, we have certain compliances, right? That people or policies that people or clubs or owners should comply to. And like the GOAT said, Arsene Wenger, back in the days, he actually predicted this entire predicament that we're having in this current world of football, where he knew that it's going to get to a point where clubs just get bought by cats from Qatar, the Arab world, or banks in the US or the UK, right? And he predicted that it's going to get to a point where it becomes anti-competitive to a certain degree. I understand that view, right? I really get it. But personally, I disagree with it. I believe if I'm rich, bro, and I want to buy PSG, and I want to put Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, Harry Kane in my team, if I have the means and I'm not breaking any law, why not? And that's why I feel like this entire concept of financial fair play is just a hoax, man. Like, it's a lie. It's a lie that is just created for us to believe that clubs can financially comply or should financially comply. At the end of the day, money makes the world go around. And that's what football is. Football is not only about the sporting part of it, and the achievements. Now it's about money. If back in the days, people just invested in football teams with a hope of minimal return of investment, right? Today, people pump in billions to maximize their ROI. And that's just my view on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in there.
Yeah, no, as I was listening to Kamza, make his points, I was just reflecting on, the ethos of I guess, what any sport is. It's in its nature. Football, sports, or anything is about competition, right? Like a competitive nature of whatever sport that we in. And as you speak, Kamza, I also think Uguti, you know, historically, there's like heritage in football. We know that there were like pre-selected teams based on like their football winning heritage, more Real Madrid, more Man United, locally Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, out of heritage, those guys, they seem to have like a God-given right to always dominate in their respective leagues. Like there's always been this narrative in all these countries that there'll be like two or three, top teams. And it's so ironic that when with money coming into the picture, you get teams that are like not great in heritage rising up and actually adding to the pool of competition around like the teams that are competing in the league. And then now all of a sudden it becomes a concern to the establishment, because now these teams are now getting left field competition. Now all of a sudden it's creating a dynamic of that. Now these teams with like unlimited resources, they are killing the competition in the respective leagues. But what else can they do? Because all these other teams have heritage of attracting the best players based on heritage. These smaller teams, they cannot compete with that in the past, because that's how teams used to compete. They need money to compete. And that's just how, think about like in the financial market, capitalism, it rewards the establishment that invests the more in whatever they want to grow in their endeavor. You don't have a God-given right to win in the market if you don't invest. So the thing is, these established teams, they are being threatened by all these teams that they didn't see coming because of the financial muscle, and then they think they have the God-given right to always dominate in their competitions. And it wasn't like in the past, teams were not complaining that, every player wants to play for Man United, for Kaizer Chiefs. We can't even get the best players. But now all of a sudden, players want to go where the money is. It's a problem for them because they had a privilege in the past around like, being competing on prestige. So to your point, Kamza, it's like we need to understand that how the world is working now. It's capitalism is dominating everywhere, and it was bound to enter, football. And I guess the teams that had that prestige in the past also need to relook and change their model of thinking. Football needs to be more lucrative. Like players have a short career, they retire when they're like 35, whatever. Obviously, more money is needed. Players in the past are dying poor now because like teams are not investing. We know locally, Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, they pay players peanuts and have a lot of players being poor. But with money coming in, it adds to the dynamic. So in short, bruh, for me, long but short, it's good for football, bruh. It's a business at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
And yeah, so
sorry,
like emphasis, go ahead.
sorry, man. I like the fact that, what Debo just said, and to put it into like a practical part of it, like a practical way of demonstrating what we're talking about. Historically, Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, Jomo Cosmos were the so-called prestige clubs in South Africa, right? Right now, let's fast forward 20 years, right, from what we know as PSL football. The landscape has changed. And I'm talking about Mamelodi Sundowns. Mamelodi Sundowns always been there historically, right? Winning occasionally. But it's not a legacy club, if you know what I mean. But for a kid that is less than 16 years old today, they will tell you the best team that ever came from South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns. And that's just the power of investment.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I just want to also just marinate on the point that Mkulego made about at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And I think as both of you I think mentioned in your own words that uh, this financial fair play in particular things almost seeks to preserve like the status quo, like for real, these are the teams that we have known to be the teams, and we just want to create an environment where like we continue to preserve their legacies and blah blah blah, right? And like that's such a myopic way of just looking at it. Like it almost limits the potential of football. Just, and I know, I mean, football is already like the biggest sport in the world, whatever. But I mean, I'm sure maybe in the next few years, who knows, basketball will grow, rugby will grow, like you know what I mean? Like if we, and this is why in a sense, and sorry, I know I'm going left a bit, why I wasn't too mad at like Super League, the fact that they were trying something new, like, yo, let's do something else. Let's, let's not just do the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I think they just feel threatened by the fact that there's so many rich people in the world now, particularly, the Saudi guys that, are kind of they are their own kind of culture, so to speak, So um, people like I think these other guys just feel threatened. Hey, these guys can blow us out of the water when it comes to things. But I think it also makes for a lazy kind of business. Like, yo, where's the innovation? Because to be fair, to use PSG as an example, like I really okay, fine, they've been bought by some of the richest people on the planet, but I like how they've positioned themselves. Like, okay, right, we're a football team, but we're also like a, a fashion kind of brand kind of thing, Paris, whatever, we're a team from Paris. We make fashionable items. We've got Jordan logos, we're doing this, we're doing that. So outside of the actual football that's being played on the pitch, we are appealing to a wider audience using this medium, just to grow our brand and to become a thing, which I think is amazing. Arsenal, to a lesser degree, with all of this merch that Arsenal just pumps out, pumps out, pumps out, they realize, okay, people always say we make dope kits, we make dope merch. Let's just keep doing that. Let's make money off of that. You know what I mean? So I just think all these other teams, like, and I want to like focus on Real Madrid and Barcelona in particular, because I think those are arguably the two biggest teams in the world. They just want to survive off of name alone. And like, it's not enough, guys. like Messi's gone, Messi's retiring now. You know what I mean? Real Madrid, okay, fine. Real Madrid has just won the Champions League, so they're not in, I guess, in the same boat. But when at some point they're gonna get to a point where they, as any team does. So I just think it's lazy a bit on their part. Like, yo, let's try something new. Let's see how we can reach a wider audience. So I guess in short for me, and like we're obviously speaking very high level, and this is an overview. Like I said, I think financial fair play, yes, there's a need for sustainability and sustainable spending and all of that stuff, of course. But I think just to say that, yo, you guys must only spend what you make, I think is not the proper way of enforcing this thing and of growing the sport. So I want that to kind of now lead into the issue of salary caps. I'm going to start with you, Kuleva, this time. Do you think there's a need for there to be some kind of salary caps? When you look at, let's just use the Arsenal and Chelsea Mudryk thing, right? Where it was reported that Arsenal had offered Mudryk about £35,000 a week, and then Chelsea just came with, is it 150 or something like that, and basically
100.
like, I mean, oh yeah, and look, I mean, like I don't blame Mudryk. I mean, I don't. If I'm an Arsenal fan now, which he clearly is, and someone comes and offers me more than double my salary for 8 years. So yeah, oh yeah. So let's also speak about the length of the contracts with Chelsea in particular. Like you're promising me 100K pounds a week, every week for 8 years. That's a gold, man. Like my family is sorted. You know what I mean? So is that like a fair way to negotiate in your opinion? Do you think that needs to at least be regulated a bit more?
Nah, I don't think so. Because, like, if we want to, if, you know, people in terms of living within their, we live within their
No, of
means,
course.
but there's
Of
always
course.
like
I'm just saying.
your money will never be enough
Mhm.
for Werner. So these guys have even shorter career. They don't play up until like 60 years. And some of them, they're not educated, they can have a fallback, they can be pundits and all of that. Bruh. So the entire market, I think it's also it's also like a way to disenfranchise players from building like financial legacies for themselves. It's sort of like protecting stability, but what about you know giving people higher earning potential? So for me, I don't think I can get it from a sustainability point of view, but it's not who does it benefit at the end of the day? Because it's the players that should be they're the ones that
Yeah,
define the competition, right? People that must earn the most out of the sport that we enjoy.
yeah. Okay, so before I retort, Kamza, I saw that you got disconnected for a bit. I don't know if you heard my question in full before you did. I don't know if you're not just chip in there.
No,
Same
I
question.
heard it. Yeah, I heard
Okay.
it. And I have to agree with Nkulego, even though I caught the last part, but salary caps, no, they can't be implemented, you know.
Mm,
So I'm gonna use an example of a sport. Basketball, NFL, and NBL, right? So baseball, basketball, and NFL, they have
mm.
salary caps and they also have a draft
American
system.
sports. Mm,
Yeah, American sports. So they
mm,
have a salary cap and draft
mm,
system, and this is apparently to promote competitiveness across the league, right?
mm,
They believe that you can't buy all the best players all at once. And because you have a salary cap, you can't have all the best players earning the same or earning high salaries because your salary cap is here. And that's how they promote competitiveness. That's their model,
mm,
right?
mm,
I personally believe if the club is willing to pay you this much, 100,000, like Mudrik, even though you love Arsenal, just go to Chelsea and get your 100,000. It's as simple as
mm,
that. They gave you 3 times. And then I know there was a question of, the contract is 8 years, right? And obviously
mm,
inflation will change. We don't know which direction it will go. So he might end up earning less. But the truth of the matter is it protects him more than anyone, actually, in this case. Because imagine scenario A, things don't work out, but he's guaranteed 100,000 for 8 years. That's a
mm,
fact. Two,
mm,
things work out. He can renegotiate. Otherwise, he'll say, I'm going to go to another team. And that team will
mm.
pay my release clause. So either way, it actually protects them. So I agree. Players must get the most out of this. If I was a
Mm.
soccer player, I would be demanding that Ronaldo salary at Arsenal. And if Arsenal does not give me, some team will.
Yeah, look. So I mean, obviously, if we put ourselves in the shoes of players, obvious we're going to say we don't like the salary cap, of course, right? So I'm just looking at like the whole, like at the bigger picture. Like, is it good for the sport as a whole? Because one could argue that if you pay these players obscene amounts of money, does it not maybe kill their motivation? Just for like an example, if you know what whether you score a hat trick today or you miss a clear goal scoring opportunity, you play your worst game of your life, 100 bag SMS again on Friday. You understand what I'm saying? Like, does it then affect like the quality of football that we'll see? Because niggas will be like, yo, I'm going to get this contract. I'm going to get it for 8 years. And then after that, and look, I know people are built different, you know, like there's still niggas who have ambitions, like, I want to be the best player, right? But I'm just saying there are, I also imagine perhaps in equal measure or more or less, niggas that just saying, nah, I just want a bag. So I'm gonna work to get this bag, and when I'm there, like, and I'm going to
Okay.
live my life. End of there.
To answer you, Ndoba, right? You don't get 100,000 a week without having the passion, the skill, the motivation, and the work rate. So players that are on those salary caps are above the most average players. And even though they get that money, even though they do get that money, they will continue to promote the sport itself. So I don't believe it deters
But I mean, look
players.
at,
I mean, tell me any
sorry, just to
player
cut you there.
that, sorry.
That's what I want to tell you is let's not even go far. Our team, Arsenal, also got his 350 bags a week, and he wasn't the same player. Okay, that could be an anomaly. Aubameyang got his 350 bags a week, not the same player, right? So, like, look, I'm not accusing them and saying that they downed tools or anything. I'm just saying, even if it's subconscious, even if it's just like, yeah, okay, now I'm balling, like, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like, I've made it. I don't have to fight for my life like even in like the corporate context, as a trainee, for example, you know, okay, I'm on a contract, some 3 years here, whatever. Here, I'm fighting for my life because I want them to give me a permanent thing after this. So I go crazy, I do well. After 3 years, they're like, dude, yeah, we want you here full time. You go from earning 15,000 rand a month, we're going to give you 60,000 rand a month. Now, look, I'm just making an example. I'm not saying that's the best amount of money in the world. I'm just saying now you are there, you're like, okay, phew, I've worked. I can take a breath now. I've made it. I'm there. Do you still think you work at the same intensity that you did when you were a trainee? You
Hey,
understand? Like
Okay.
that's so like that's just the principle that I just want to
Yeah. Here's the
challenge.
thing,
Yeah.
right? I believe we can't compare the two. And I'll tell you why. We can't compare like
Right.
corporate life versus people that are in sport or talent or whatever, like using their
Why not?
talent to generate an income. It's different, man. There's a lot of passion put into that. They understand the stakes are super high at any point. And they do keep, I know most of them, and I'm not saying all, most of them understand this is a shortcutting. And 100,000 to 300,000, only two players I know have messed it up. And to show that the problem wasn't the money, those same players that you mentioned, Ozil and Aubameyang, when they left and they got lesser contracts, they were still not performing well.
yeah, and I guess like to your point, Kamza, the principle of football or sports is that your earning potential is down right to your performance, right? Like it's proportional. So if you mess it up, you stuff up the bag. Like you say, if your motivation goes down, the club just gets rid of you. The next pays you off, whatever. Then the next club you go there on a lower salary. Then I guess most people that play the sport, to your point, they do it out of passion. You don't play it because you want the money. You just love the actual, endeavor that you're in. So you're actually passionate about this thing. So I don't think you'd mess it up and kill your career like by maybe 10 years short and then don't become a well-known footballer just because like money, you're after the money. It's highly unlikely. For me, I believe like the money motivates them even more because they know that their earning potential is proportional to their how they perform, and they can always get more money.
Of course. But I to Ndogo's point, you will find those players, right? Those personalities. Let's actually call them personalities.
I don't think it's an anomaly, honestly. I don't think it's an anomaly.
You will find those personalities, but I'm saying if we talking about players in the EPL, that's a different level. If we're talking about players in our local league, PSL, highly probable.
Because another crucial factor is age, right? So Mudryk is what, 20, 21 years old? I think we'll just keep this example, right? Mudryk is 21 years old, I think. I stand to be corrected. And like once again, I'm not saying Mudryk is this, it's just an example. I'm just saying if you give a 21-year-old £100,000 a week, like, I think there's an equal chance. In fact, I'm inclined to think there's a bigger chance that he may go off the rails a bit, because like it's so much money to give such a young mind that like it's very easy for them to get influenced into, you know what I mean, like just all sorts of things, partying, women, sports cars, reckless spending, that kind of thing, which can affect the quality of that person's football. So that's what I'm saying. Like this, as simplistic as this question is, I think it really does have a lot of like layers, you know, kind of thing. Because like, I mean, 8 years, like even if they like best case scenario, even I actually I'd argue is you play shit and then they buy you out of your contract. They pay you that 8 years worth of money, and then okay, you go to a lesser team, you get a pay cut, and then you can do it all. But the point is, you'll have 8 years of thing, but without having spent 8 years. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you are almost double earning, if you know what I mean.
I hear you, but you are also double spending because you're reckless. So that money will finish.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to use like Mudryk as an example, then the perfect example to use here is Mbappe. Mbappe has been earning that money from 18. Where is he?
And look at
top of his game because of discipline and passion. Okay, fine. Let's not use someone who's special. Let's use a Theo Walcott. Theo Walcott was earning quite, not obviously £100,000, but a lot of money at such a young age. Today, he's still playing.
For me, there's fewer examples of people earning a lot of money and going off the rails than people earning, you know, for me, it doesn't stack up. Most people that
I can give you quite a few high-profile examples where I think players, after getting big contracts or their dream moves or whatever, just went off the rails a bit, right? I've already given you two. Right? I've given you Ozil and I've given you Aubameyang. Another one I can throw at you is Eden Hazard. Right? Eden Hazard is another high profile. Do you disagree?
I disagree. Eden Hazard joined Chelsea at a young age and earning big bucks already. And for years, he's been getting a contract improvement.
But then
so that Real Madrid move is possibly down to other things, but not him.
What are the other things?
Age for me.
Hey, I don't know his personal issues, but I know certain things are affecting him.
Yeah, but okay, fine. But like, I mean, obviously, all of these things have that asterisk of the fact that we don't have all the information. Of course, there's probably greater context to everyone, right? But like I said, I'm just giving you things on the surface that look like even Ozil and Aubameyang, who knows what is going on behind the scenes? Even Bentner, all of these crazy kind of stories. But fine. Ben Arfa is another one I'll give you. That's a player, honestly, I thought was going to be one of the best players in the world. And he also just went in his own direction.
But
Who else?
those
Yeah.
examples for me don't. Hazard is
What?
injury prone at Madrid. He's always injured. Like how?
But he wasn't injury prone at Chelsea,
Yeah, but he
which
became
and
injury prone.
in a league. No, remember, I mean, Premier League is always apparently this is the most physical league. Now he goes to a league that's less physically demanding, and then all of a sudden, because I mean, that's the holy grail of football. So Hazard, maybe, I'm speculating here, but in his mind, he was like, okay, I've made it. I've made it to the biggest team in the world. You've got good money. Because remember, also this also aligns with lifestyle as well. Spain, from what I hear, is a better place to live in than England. Weather, all of those things. So like the whole package, he was like, okay, I've made it, and now he started, not I'm not saying not caring, but you understand what I'm saying, right?
I understand what you're
So
saying, but I disagree.
yeah. I'm
So
giving you example.
I'm sorry. I also
Do you want more? I can.
like. I feel like your examples have like clear mitigating factors. It's not like money only. That is like the guys. Your examples. Hazard when he was younger, he was earning good money. He was performing incrementally better with more money. He just got that way when he was old. Motivation is down, so that's understandable.
This is the point I'm making. This is literally
No,
the point I'm making. Yeah. He got a big move, and then, like I said, maybe subconsciously, he thinks, I've made it. So the motivation dies. You've reached the pinnacle
but
of football.
all these examples sorry, just the last point. All these examples that we've covered so far, it's old players towards the tail end of their
No, but
career.
Hazard was how old was Hazard when he moved? He was in his
He was,
prime. Was he
yeah, he
not?
was beyond his
He was
prime.
beyond.
He was under 30 years old. Am I correct?
But
Because
beyond
what's
his
football
prime.
prime? Football prime is between football prime generally is between the ages of 27 and 30. Do you agree?
Yes, that's old football.
Yes.
Hazard's prime was 20 to 26.
Yes, I agree. Some players may have their primes earlier, some may have later. I mean, Pirlo's prime was like after 30, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I understand that. I'm just saying, like, because I mean, for the purposes of analysis, generally speaking, between the age of 27 and 30 is a footballer, and not even just a footballer, just your athletic prime as a human being. That's now a scientific fact. Your athletic prime is between the ages of 27 and 30. So Hazard went to Madrid in that period. So like
And then
that's all I'm
something
saying.
happened. Look, I think
yeah.
a perfect example. I think a perfect example of what you're trying to prove would be in Adriano. If you remember Adriano from Brazil,
yes.
he's a perfect example of what you're saying. This is a kid who came from the squatter camps, the hood. Suddenly he's at Inter Milan, boom, getting over 10,000 euros a week, started going crazy, drinking drugs, women, etc.
All I'm saying is that I can give you a lot of examples. Fernando Torres is another example.
No.
Right?
No.
It is,
No.
though.
All examples.
He got a big money move.
All the examples are players
Liverpool,
after their prime.
As good as Torres was, but I've just explained the perimeters that we are basing this argument on. Fernando Torres was under the age of 30 when he moved from Liverpool to Chelsea. He was under the age of 30. Liverpool, as good as Torres and Gerrard were, Liverpool was shit, right? So he went to a bigger team. Chelsea was winning titles for fun at that point. He got his big move. It was a record at the time, if I remember, £50 million. He got to Chelsea, big money move, big package, of course. And then he became shit, to put it quite frank. And I love Torres. Like, I loved Strips comes out. I know that was your guy, even, right?
That's my guy, bro.
Maybe that's why you mad at me. But these are facts. I'm giving you guys facts. I'll even give you another fact. I give you.
Please,
I give
Togoso, maybe before you continue, please give me a fact of a young player at the peak of his power that was paid a lot and then became poor. Like, young player, don't give me people that.
But why young player?
Yeah, because
this is based on Mudryk.
Remember, we just use Mudryk as an example because that is current, right? But the principle here that we're arguing is that getting a big money move or big contract can affect a player's motivation. That's what we're arguing. It's not about when you're young and you get money or whatever. But that was just an example. The thing we're arguing is that big money can affect a player's motivation. That's all.
Okay. So are you saying, with all of this being said, right? Are you saying players that get those big money moves tend to, whatever, lose focus or get disengaged in their sport? And that percentage or pool of those players is much larger than the ones that money motivates them further.
Okay, so I'm refuting the point Nkolego made, saying that it's an anomaly. So I'm refuting that completely, saying it's not an anomaly, right? One. And then now this part is subjective now. Now I say I would believe or would be inclined to argue that a significant amount of players react that way. So that part is something. That one you guys can fight with me, fine. I can be convinced either way. But the one I won't be convinced is the one when Kole was saying it's an anomaly. That one I completely reject that one.
Okay, let's do a quick sample, right? Of our two concepts, subjective concepts. Let's use Man United, right? Who got big salary increases and messed up the back. Debo,
Phil
you know
Jones.
your team. So
Phil Jones.
Did Phil Jones really get a salary? Did he really, though?
Phil Jones.
He was injury prone. He was injury prone.
He was injury prone. But he was injury prone. And whenever he played well.
Whenever he played well. Nkulego, as a Man United fan, are you agreeing with this statement?
Yeah, what Phil Jones in his formative years, he was seen as the future of Man United, and
I remember Fergie infamously said he'll go down as one of the greats.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Fergie said it, and then he got his big contract, and then what?
Dude, he got injured. You can't evaluate someone on being injury prone and then you put that down to money. That means you're questioning the integrity of Man United's medical team and the player themselves. Which is just now.
Okay, let's move on. But I've given you one, but let's move on.
Okay. Who else?
Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire. But we, first of all, your point is that more money made him worse. Was he great already before me? to the level that we thought he was?
I wouldn't say great, but he was good at Leicester. He was good at Leicester, and he was good for England. And then he got his big money move to Man United, and he became shit.
Was he good? I think.
No, Leicester was. Harry Maguire at Leicester was good, guys. Let's not forget. Even Pep wanted this guy. Please, let's not forget this thing.
Okay, fine. Harry Maguire. Cool. That's on. Yeah. No, that's on ice. It's in between. We can argue that one.
The thing is,
Okay.
I'm trying to find like the examples is making, like most of them in my mind, they're not like absolute examples of the argument that money affects your motivation and performance, because I'm yet in those examples, I'm yet to find a player that's at the peak of his powers and gets paid more. And then, like, okay, Neymar, I mean, Mbappe, for example, peak of his powers is getting more money. He still performs at the peak of his powers. So I'm not finding, from my examples, all of them, it's like, it's either players that it's beyond the peak of their powers, then they start performing poorly. Or players that were not at their prime, and then they join a bigger team, then they start performing poorly. So I haven't been
I'm gonna
use examples.
I'm gonna give Ntogo examples, right? Of what proves our point. Wayne Rooney, we can't even argue that. Like
yeah. But guys,
no, listen,
I'm not
listen. Okay. Listen. An example that will resonate with you. Robin van Persie. And he was past his peak. He was 29 when he moved to Man United, 29, 30. And we all know this guy was injured.
That was his prime.
But we know he's injury prone. We know he's injury prone. So that's why I'm saying
29 was his prime. No, 29 was Robin van Persie's prime.
Here's my question. He went to Arsenal. In Arsenal, he could not finish a season. He never finished a season at Arsenal without getting injured.
That's not true.
He never finished a season without getting injured, except the season Man United saw him, which was his last season.
So that's a season.
It doesn't count for someone that's been there for 6 seasons.
No, why doesn't it count?
6 seasons.
No, why doesn't it count?
6 seasons, Ntogo. And this man could not stay fit. Okay,
you just said there was no season. Fine. So now I told you season. Okay.
Okay, fine. Couldn't stay fit for most seasons. He gets to Man United. He's fit for the entire season. He's paid a lot more money. He performs at the highest level.
Yes.
And do we agree with that?
100%.
Cool. Nasri goes to Man City. He performs better. Do we agree with that?
I do not agree with that one.
He was arguably a better player at Man City.
No. He won the league,
he wasn't. I mean, he was still great. You're still great, but he was great at Arsenal as well. So
yeah, he
didn't go up or down. He maintained his level.
He was great at Arsenal because the players surrounding him are not of his quality.
Yes, but he was great. Remember, I mean, let's not forget, Nasri played with Fabregas, he played with Van Persie, he played with Rosicki, like he played with like serious players.
Okay, fine.
Played with some real.
Thierry Henry moves to Barcelona. Did that affect his performance?
He wasn't as good at Barcelona as he was at Arsenal. But now it's semantics. Now did it get worse? Did it get worse at Did it get worse at Barcelona?
Did he decline heavily?
Did it get worse?
I didn't say he was shit. I'm just saying at Barcelona, he wasn't as good as he was at Arsenal for obvious reasons. I mean, there was a guy called Messi there, so I understand. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm just saying there was a
Okay.
bigger guy there who the he wasn't the main guy, so I understand there.
Okay, fine. Zidane moves to Real Madrid, becomes a way better player
From Juventus.
Yeah, but guys,
from Juventus.
you guys are telling me things that I know. I didn't say these. It doesn't happen that players can get better from big money. I'm just saying there's a lot of examples where players become shit. That's all I was giving you.
Okay, so what we are
yeah.
saying, just to end this conversation, we are saying that money, like when players earn the big money move, most of the time they do bet. That's what we are saying.
I'm saying it can go either way. I'm saying 50-50.
I'm not disagreeing with it could go either way, but I believe 70% most of the time it will go the way that we predict it.
Okay, no, that's fine. But
that's subjective.
But okay. But do we agree that it's not an anomaly?
Yeah, I guess you've named significant players, eh?
Yeah, look, because I mean, if you're saying 70%, 30% is not an anomaly. Anomaly by definition means like once in a blue
1%.
moon, right? It's like a rare event, yes. Which is not the case.
For the purpose of the match that's about to start right now, we will accept your point of view that I don't agree with.
That's fine. No, guys, it's been a good chat, I think. I think we spent the last half of it, but I think we had a conducive conversation just about money and football in general. It's definitely going to be a developing kind of, or a recurring rather, topic on this channel with the Super League coming into play again. So I think we'll have a few more chats like this. Just want to thank you guys for your time. Comes Uncle Lego. I appreciate it as always.
I think also to end off, when are you taking the term Guti players must be hungry too literally? I leave it there.
Sharp,
that's
guys.
a good one. Cheers, gentlemen. Bye.